worry about things we should be worried about. Isn't that true? Yes or no? Many a times we worry about things we shouldn't be worried about, right? And many a times we don't worry about things we should be worried about. So a few years ago, I was invited to address 400 CFOs in a large gathering in a conference which was taking place in the Kingdom of Bahrain, where people from all over the Middle East had gathered. And after I was done with the talk, some of these leaders took me on the side and they said, can we share our worries with you? And for a moment I was thinking, what kind of worries these leaders must be experiencing? Because from the time I landed in Kingdom of Bahrain, all I saw was luxury. It was one of the best of the cars which I had always dreamt of, that someone came to pick me up in that car. And it was one of the best hotels where I was living. And all around the city, wherever I looked, I didn't even see one shanty. All I saw was good skyscraper buildings or good bungalows and nicely carved roads. And I was thinking, what kind of worries these leaders must be experiencing. And in those days, there were no taxes in Kingdom of Bahrain. And petrol was cheaper than water. So I asked them, may I ask, what kind of worries are you experiencing? And one of the leaders said, you know what? Technology is taking over our jobs. Things in the world of accounting are getting automated. And we are worried whether we'll have a job in hand or not. Before leaving for Bahrain, I had read a bit about blockchain, and I immediately told them, why don't you explore blockchain? And one of those leaders, tells me, we are too old for this. At this age, how can we explore blockchain? And I didn't have a, concrete solution to offer to them. So whatever came to my mind, I tried my best to address their problem. So my next question to them was, if you don't mind, can you let me know your age? And one of them said, I'm 52 years old. Another guy said, I'm 48 years old. Someone said, I'm 53 years old. As my humble request, first you replace the word old in your age with young. Instead of saying 52 years old, you say 52 years young. With that one shift, at least your mindset will change. You will become much more younger and be more open to exploring or learning something new. And at that point of time, I again thought of something else which I could share with them. So I asked them, do you know Colonel Sanders? The person who founded KFC. And the person looked at me, oh yes, I know KFC, but I didn't know who founded KFC. So I said, he was in his mid-60s when he embarked on a new startup. And in mid-60s, he's thinking about a worldwide venture. And when compared to him, you are a lot more younger to him. And I realized, I'm not able to convince them. And then finally, I ended the conversation by saying that what if you are in a do or die situation? What if this is the only option you are left with? If you are not going to explore technology or something new which is coming up, it will be end of your career. Then they said, reluctantly they said, we will try and explore. And after I came back to India, their worries were still playing on in my mind. Because I felt, I didn't give them something concrete which I should have given them. I gave them whatever came to my mind at that point of time. And I started thinking about their worries. And I realized they were worried because they were obsessed. They were obsessed with the thought process that what worked yesterday should work today. What works today should work tomorrow. And that obsession was creating limitations and culminating in fear-like situation. And that fear was quite evident on their face. In that fearful situation, they were saying, we will have to go back to India, whether we will get another job or not in India. There's no guarantee because we have not worked in India for so many years. How will our children be able to adjust in India because they're used to Arabic way of education system? And that fear was quite evident. And I could see that they are heading towards a dead end in their life, in their professional journey of life. And when I thought of this wolf, I realized worries, obsession, limitation, and fear. This wolf in form of worries, obsession, limitation, and fear impacts every individual in this world, impacts every organization in this world, almost on daily basis. And if we don't know how to conquer this wolf, and if we get conquered by this wolf, we will experience a similar fate what they were experiencing at that point of time. And when I thought of this wolf, I realized that, this wolf could be used for many other purposes. And I dive deeper into SWOT analysis. This is one analysis which almost every organization does, every startup does, every large-size organization, mid-size organization does. And this has been existing since 1970s. SWOT refers to strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And I was thinking, since 1970s, the world has been using this SWOT analysis framework. Then why 89% companies, approximately 89% companies which existed in Fortune 500 list 30 years ago, no longer exist? They either got disrupted or merged with some other company. And it's a known fact, 99% startups which have been there in the industry, they get disrupted. 99% startups. And I was thinking, in spite of doing SWOT analysis, why did they get disrupted? Because if they knew their strengths, they knew their weaknesses, they knew their opportunities, if they knew their threats, then there shouldn't be any scope for disruption. Then I felt the concept of wolf, which is worries, obsession, limitation, and fear. If it's topped up with SWOT, it's a lethal combination, and we can address or get to the root cause of the problem, or work with a disruptive mindset, which is much needed in the fast-changing, volatile world we are experiencing today. So how does it work? How does it work? Our today's strength could be our tomorrow's weakness. So when it comes to strength from SWOT analysis, many companies don't realize your today's strength could be your tomorrow's weakness. There are companies in the world of telecom. Earlier we had, the mobile phones which had QWERTY keyboards. Those companies which made those mobile phones were leading companies in the world. They had commanded the global market share to the highest number we can think of. And within a matter of days, they got disrupted. Not only locally in their own countries, but globally they got disrupted. So their strength of yesterday became weakness of today. So if we are not worried about our strength, if we are obsessed with our strength, that same strength can create limitations and culminate in fear-like situation. Now coming to weakness from the SWOT analysis, if we are obsessed, if we are not worried about our weakness, and if we continue to being obsessed, like many airline companies, we know a lot of airline companies have got disrupted in this country. And if they continue to be obsessed with the growth which they want to experience, at the cost of their financials being weak, they experience limitations and culminate in fear-like situation. Coming to opportunities, there are many conglomerates in this country who have gone on acquisition spree. They were not worried about the cultural and other risks which come with those acquisitions, but they were obsessed with expansion. Then obsession led to limitation and culminated in fear-like situation. Coming to threats of SWOT analysis, there are many giants in this country who are in the business of retail broking. They continue to be in the business of retail broking. But they were obsessed with the thought process. They were not worried because they were obsessed with the thought process. Only a giant like them can disrupt them. Not realizing a startup like Zero Grow, some of them even started in 2 BHK apartment bootstrap, can create limitations and fear-like situation for them in that particular area of operation. So when it comes to SWOT, if it's coupled with wolf, it can be a lethal combination, as I said a few minutes back. The whole purpose of this talk was not to scare you, but to equip you for the future. Equip you to work with a futuristic mindset. A mindset which will help you stay afloat at all times. And today's theme of this TEDx event is Rethink, Reinvent, Restore. And my only humble request to all of you is rethink about SWOT analysis. Rethink about SWOT analysis. Reinvent yourself with wolf analysis so you can restore the path of sustainable, incremental, and exponential growth And someday we will achieve the vision, which is of Vikshit Bharat, hopefully before 2047. Thank you very much.